When you start to live by your unique design, when you start to really embody who you are, you no longer feel this need to perform in your life. You show up with a clarity around what you like, who you are, what your gifts are, where you shine. You know how to navigate your weaknesses, and you know how to place people around you that are going to help you.
Welcome to the Raquel Show. This podcast is for entrepreneurs who want to play bigger in business and in life. Today, I have a very special guest that I truly adore. I met her at a mastermind, and I will never forget the growth that this woman has. And she continues to have as she evolves into all these other spaces with her talents. She's a one-of-a-kind life coach, an energy healer who's obsessed with human design and transforming lives. I trust her so much that I allowed my little one to have a session with her and was absolutely blown away when Brexton came back. Welcome to the show, Stacy Gissal.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you for all the kind words. You know, I feel the same about you.
I'm excited to have you on our show. And I have so many questions, and I know the audience is probably, when I read your bio, are like human design. And I know that a lot of high performer entrepreneurs listen to our show. And anytime that we can learn about stuff like this or about biohacking, we love it because we almost feel like it's a roadmap or a shortcut to better results. So I'm excited. I'd love for you to tell the audience what inspired you to do what you do today.
Oh, we could take the whole show on that. Right? That tends to be like every entrepreneur or business owner is like, well, let me see when I was born, which is funny because it's kind of like, we'll talk about human design. And like part of this is just who I was meant to be. But I always knew I wanted to help people, went into a career as a nurse, and because that's like all I knew. Like at 21, I thought for sure I was behind in life. So I had to go get my career as fast as I possibly can. And nursing seemed really safe. And I knew that I wanted to help people. That was really the only option. It was like that or like a dental hygienist. And I didn't want people to hate me. So I was like, well, we'll go with a nurse, right? And through that process, I started helping people through holistic health coaching and different things, and kind of seeing that I could help people on the front end more than the back end. And that felt a lot better. I just no longer felt fulfilled as a nurse. I think that like there's a lot of respected nurses, and I love that some people are just built to do that. That was not me. And so I knew that a shift had to happen. And so then I became an entrepreneur, and just through the wild ride of my own evolution, I transitioned from that into really what I'm doing now, which is helping people, with human design and through energy work and through really any modality I can help somebody through.
What I love about Stacy is not only is she super talented, is she comes from a world of nursing. So she understands like the body, she understands all of that. And like her even speaking about human design, which I'm excited to talk about, is like, what is it? How important is it? And I'm sure I want to ask you too, is like, how important is it to your business if somebody was like looking into it?
Such a great question. And, you know, I love to connect dots. Like it's literally my favorite thing in the world. I would spend all day doing it. And so that's what I do in human beings. I've always been fascinated by the human body. And our human body is always speaking to us and telling us different things. And so for me, it's just about taking the knowledge that I have now, and I just can connect dots all day long for my clients. That's what I'm doing so that they can have a better understanding of who they are. So human design came along, and it is essentially what human design is it's a combination of ancient science and modern science that comes together, and it shows you it's your unique blueprint. It's how you were born. And so it's really cool because it's not who you think you are. It's not who you think you're supposed to be. It's who you are at your core. And when you can learn to understand that, life just becomes so much more fun. So with human design, like we'll do large scale, and then how is this going to help you in your business? Okay.
Awesome.
On a larger scale, human design, there's 5 different types. You can look them up all over. There's free things all over the internet. Go ahead and look up a lot of people know what their human design is. This is like what I'm coming into to understand. People know what it is. They have no idea what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or they know like these tiny pieces. But if you like this, and so this is where I kind of come in, is I'm not about teaching you the information. I'm about living it. And when you start to live it, everything starts to shift. But going back, so there's these 5 different types of human design. You can be a generator, a manifesting generator, a manifester, a projector, or a reflector. And each type brings a very important gift when it comes to humanity. Okay. Then if you dive in a little bit further, each person holds a unique piece of the puzzle. They hold certain things that only they are going to bring to the table in their very unique way. And so human design and self-discovery is going to help you gain clarity on what those gifts are and what you have to offer. Now, zero that in on performance, on business, right? If you want to optimize your business, you must optimize your people. 70% of the population are here to find fulfilling work. Okay, like that's part of their design. They thrive off of being fulfilled by the work they're doing. How many people do you actually think are fulfilled by the work they do?
Not a lot. Very few. They said like, what is it? Almost like 90% of people that have jobs are unhappy at their jobs.
Yeah, that's terrifying. And why? Because when it comes down to it, most people aren't working or living in alignment with who they truly are. And they're living according to who they think they're supposed to be, or what a counselor told them to become 20 years ago, or what they spent all this money on college to become. And then they get into it and they hate it, but they have to stick with it because what else am I going to do? Right? Like these are the questions that people have. But what happens is that when you don't feel authentic in your life and you don't feel fulfilled by the work you're doing, when that's what we spend most of our waking hours doing is working, we're going to feel frustrated, angry, bitter, disappointed. And if that is how you feel, and that is how the people working for you feel or working on your business feel, think about the energetic vibration your company is radiating. It's simply the law of attraction. What you put out is what you get back.
So good. So good. I'm curious to see, like, how would people find out about these 5 different types?
Like I said, there's so much online. You can go to just like literally search human design free test and it'll pop up. And it's such a simple, it's always really funny. I was working with a couple the other day and the guy said, what did you give her? Like how much background information did you give her on me? And we're like, all you need to figure out your human design is your birth date, your birth time, and where you were born. It's that simple. Most men have to call their moms and ask for their birth time. It's just the way it goes. And that's okay. Nothing to be ashamed of. But it's also on your birth certificate for most people. And yeah, you can figure it out that simple. But like, she's like, that's all I told her. And again, it's this blueprint that's based on it's all of these ancient sciences, new sciences. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So you said something about what your company is vibrating energetically is sometimes how you show up. So obviously having the knowledge is one thing. And then what would be like the next thing for somebody to really kind of learn about this so that they could help lead people or be aware of what's happening so that they could have higher vibrations in their company?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that, again, it's one of those things where you can learn all of the things, but then you've got to start to embody it. you have to go into depth and start to live it. And that's why every human design session I do, I can give you so much info. But if you don't go out and experiment with it and try it and like actually see how it impacts your life, then this is pointless. And so it's a very in-depth system is what I will say. And so most people get overwhelmed by it. Like I remember when I had my first human design session, when I was introduced to it, and a lot of the things that were said were very accurate. Like I was like, oh, okay, now I can see. Yeah, that sounds a lot like me, blah, 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 blah. But I didn't have any structure, like not very many tools as to like, okay, now what do I do with this information? And that's where I really tried to come in and help you use it. Not just, and so we break it into bite-sized chunks, right? So that it can actually become really usable, because the more you know yourself, the better life gets in every single area, because you're no longer performing. And like, what do I mean by that? Is when you start to live by your unique design, when you start to really embody who you are, you no longer feel this need to perform in your life. You show up with a clarity around what you like, who you are, what your gifts are, where you shine. You know how to navigate your weaknesses, and you know how to place people around you that are going to help you. And then life and business becomes a hell of a lot more fun when we're able to do that.
Who wouldn't want that? You know, you said something and I just want to reiterate, right? It's you have awareness of your human design or who you are, your blueprint, right? And then it's one thing to be aware, and then it's one thing to learn. And then it's the next layer is having the right tools so that you can practice and live it, and that you can grow into the person that you were meant to be. And one of the things I notice is that you love to work with people that have these massive like internal shifts. Obviously, I got to experience that as a parent with Braxton. So my question is, what internal shifts have you seen with working with so many different people, entrepreneurs, that have been some of the biggest shifts as they start to unpack some of these things?
You know, what's so funny is I honestly think that people often have the biggest shifts in the places they least expect it. They will come. I've had people come to me for business. I need help understanding my business, like all these different things. And then like they all of a sudden they're like, their relationship has grown with their significant other because because of all the shifts that they have made. And so I think it's hard because it's one of those things that you never know where the shift is going to happen. And you can come to me thinking that we're going to work through one thing, but then like we can't see our own blind spot. And once you really start to like, the thing is never the thing. That's my quote. The thing is never the thing. So you're going to come and we're going to get to I go deep. Like I do not know what surface level is. It is just not my thing. And so that's why I say like, I love to teach people, but like, I like to go deep with people because that is where my superpower truly lies. And the deeper we go, the more we can find the root of what needs to unfold. And then we don't know how tackling that root cause, what that is going to do to the rest of your life. And so it's really kind of fun in that way.
It's so good. You know, you grow one area, it's hard not to grow other areas in your life. And when you focus on growth in one area, it's amazing how everything starts to elevate because it trickles into other areas, like you said, from business to relationships to other things to mindset of like, and it could also translate into, you know, finances and all kinds of other things because you're getting really deep to the core. Right. And you said that you like to go deep. And just before this, we were talking about how you also will help your husband and his team members, you know, how you actually help companies like with their human design through their team. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So this has been a really fun project for me to watch it from the outside because we all have like our unique piece of the puzzle again. And then we also are going to have, no matter who we're working with, whether it be our spouse, team members, whatever, there's going to be more than likely points of contention, but there's also going to be things that you bring out in one another. And if you can learn how to navigate those things, and then there's like understanding your team allows you to really understand like your core values as well. And so with like my husband's team, for example, like one of the things that we realized is that through him, he's got two other business partners, but he has one, and they're kind of like, they've been kind of the front end, the sales guys of the team. Well, they just started their company not very long ago. They had, 30 demos in 28 days, and they weren't really getting a lot of no's. Okay. So it was really fun to see that when they're together, they actually bring out a human design channel that radiates honesty and trustworthiness. And so when they're apart, they hold one side of that gate. But like my husband would actually come off a little too salesy without his partner. So then his partner, he could go into a situation with a preconception of how it's going to go and therefore miss out on the opportunity because he's not as like, he may not be as present and he can't see the opportunity for what it is compared to what he thought it was going to be. But when they're together, they have this channel that just radiates trustworthiness. So they walk into a room together and people just, they like them, they trust them. And so like, you can't find a better salesperson. If you want a salesperson, you need somebody with this channel because people just immediately have this trust. And so they know now that they have to be the front line of this company. And if they want to hand that off, they're going to have to find somebody with this particular trait. And they're just meant to be at the front end and work with a team behind them. That's kind of their thing, right? So we discovered some of that and just like, again, some core values and where their points of contention might pop up, which we've seen, but now they have this way of navigating around them because it's not a personal thing. They're wired different.
As you're like speaking, I think about not only like our team with different partners that I have in different businesses, as well as like my team when I show up, or even my teams that I coach today and companies I coach today. It's really interesting as you say that there's a dynamic and energy when certain people show up together or when people show up by themselves. So, I mean, and I know that there's certain people, I call them like my hype women, right? Where I know that no matter what, if I was going to go on stage, they would be like right by my side because I know I'd perform better in delivering a message, and everyone needs like that hype woman in their life. Right. So I think that's really cool that you were able to discover that. And I never had thought about that until you said it.
It's really interesting. I mean, there's certain designs that are not actually, they will never be the most successful on their own. So going back to my husband, he's one of them. And a lot of people are entrepreneurs trying to do it on their own. And like my husband knew this about himself, luckily. But then he was invited into this company and now he gets to work with two other people. And it's great. But then there's other people who they're like going to be really naturally the CEO and the visionaries because of the ideas that they bring, but also they give people, they have a throat motor is what it's called. And they give other people that. That's probably what your hype women are. They give you like access to your voice so that you feel really, really empowered. Yeah. So here's the other cool dynamic about this. I've been playing with another assessment that you can go on and take called the Working Genius. Okay. And this is really fun because I've been cross-referencing this with human design. And what the Working Genius does is there's 6 different Working Genius, and like you want all of them in your team in some way or another, but it shows you like what are your top two and how, like, where should you be spending most of your time at work? And then your next two is like, you can spend some time here, but it's not necessarily your genius, but like, you'll be okay. And then there's like the bottom two that's like, don't more or less, because like, you're just going to get frustrated. It's not in your genius at all to be there. So my husband and I have taken this, and like I said, I've been cross-referencing this, and it's also a really interesting, like, I am like the top two. I am wonder and invention. So that's cool. It's really necessary. But if I don't have people around me that can put together processes and strategies to get something to earth, I just have a bunch of ideas that aren't going to go anywhere. Right. So it's like knowing how to work. And it's just been another, like I said, it's just another fun thing for anybody who's listening. You can go on and you can kind of see that as well. And I've been pulling these two pieces together for teams. And it's even funny in a relationship, like to see, because my husband gets frustrated that I can't seem to put together a process. And yet that's his specialty, not mine.
Right. Oh my gosh, this is so good. I had never heard of working genius, but lately I have been hearing about flame work and like wax work. And flame work it has to bring like life to me. Like that's what I want to stay in. So I'm like really intentional about that right now. As I was like learning about it, is like, is this flame work, Raquel, that you're doing, or could this be passed on to somebody else? So I love it. I love all of it. I'm excited about like Googling this stuff or learning more from you. And one of the things that you do too is you work a lot with self mastery. And you say that a lot as I was like looking at your IG posts. Where do you see people get the biggest transformation when it comes to like self mastery? And how important is self mastery? As I feel like that's like the foundation to all things.
Yes. So it is definitely, this is why I'm so passionate about it. I think the more that you can know yourself, life becomes easier. Mm-hmm. Life just gets easier. What I will say that it takes honesty and integrity. That's where the transformation truly, in my opinion, where it really happens. Because if you cannot be honest with yourself, you will never be able to be honest with other people. And honesty is really all we've got. But that requires being willing to see every aspect of who you are. You have to be able to see the beauty in who you are. You have to be able to understand where you have been conditioned by your environment. You have to also be able to be willing to see the pieces of you that don't feel so good to look at, the things that don't paint you in the best light. And it doesn't always feel good. And that's why people avoid this work. Yeah. But that is where the transformation truly happens, is when you are willing to look deep enough to say, that's something that I actually have every capability of shifting and transforming. But we don't like that. That doesn't feel good. And so we avoid it.
It's so good because I was at a like conference and we were talking about like all the cells that make up our bodies, and this scientist or biohacker was talking about like why we get into depression and why like we have like these feelings. And you said something about like knowing yourself. And what I found the most interesting thing was a lot of people go like, when you have love in your world, it like shows up in your body and in your cells. And it almost is like into gratitude and almost into happiness, right? We're always trying to elevate. But the number one thing that actually could help your cells is being authentic. It actually overpowers love and happiness. And I thought, oh my gosh, Stacy just said it. It's so amazing how when you're authentic to yourself and you're in your zone of genius, you actually radiate more even within your cells of your body.
Yeah. And it's the fun part is you don't even have to try. Like, I was reading something the other day and it said, live in the joy of no longer feeling like you have to perform. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, Because when you no longer feel the need to be somebody that you're not, when you know what your essence is, why you're here, and you can show up as that no matter what room you're in, right? Often we change who we are depending on the room we decide to jump into. But when you can do that, like everybody's looking for peace and they're looking for freedom. And you know where you find it? Authenticity.
So true. So true. And I also know that like when you start to grow, there is like that stretch of growth, that stretch of uncomfortable, that stretch of maybe performing again because you're learning something, right? And something that's so unforeign, like so foreign to you than what your body or whatever has been used to. And you are all about like evolving beyond limits, right? That's your whole brand. You check her out on social media. So, what are some of the things that you can give some of our listeners today when we talk about how do we evolve beyond our limits?
I love this question. And, last month there was a full moon in Leo. Okay. And Leo's a lion. Obviously, it's actually my sign. And the lion's all about courage. And this is something that has come up a lot lately. And so I'll share it. Is that I believe that the way that in which we evolve beyond limits is to show up in our life with courage. And what courage is to me is often going in direct opposition of what you would normally do. Go in direct opposition of what is familiar. And it's stepping into that unfamiliar territory that is going to allow you to evolve. And this can be the simplest of things. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday, and what's familiar is our habits, right? And so if you are normally the person that is going to force your way through something and you are going to push and control and all of that, courage would be surrender, take a step back, sit in stillness, right? Like it takes courage to do that which is unfamiliar. And that would be the way that I would say for all of us to be able to truly evolve beyond limits is we have to live with a sense of courage. If you've never taken a look into yourself because underneath it all, you're afraid what you might find, have the courage to do something different. And that's going to allow you to evolve.
So good. So good. And as we talk about like evolving beyond limits, and I'm all about playing bigger. So as we wrap up, we ask all of our guests this question. What's one thing you do, Stacy, to play bigger in business or in life?
I think that the thing that I would say, what's coming to my mind is that I walk my talk. And if there's something that I learn, I test it, I experiment with it. And that is what I would say is almost the biggest thing that we want to learn all of these things. And learning is the easy part, right? But we don't actually grow. We don't actually evolve. We can't play bigger unless we're willing to experience different things in our life. And so, yeah, that's what I would say.
I love it. Where can people connect with you if they want to connect with you? Because I know a lot of people probably, it might even be the first time that they're learning about any of this. Human design, right? Self-mastery, evolving beyond limits, courage, all that stuff. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, you can connect with me via Instagram. I'm sure you guys will put it in the show notes, but it's just Stacy_Gissal. You can go onto my website, connect with me there, send me an email. I'm pretty flexible. And so, yeah, just reach out. Even if you just have some questions, I'm here to help.
Love it. What are you most excited about that you're working on this year?
Oh, well, there is, I think for the first time in my life, I am not trying to control it. And so in that essence, I think the thing I'm most excited about is waking up every single day and just allowing the magic to unfold without any expectations or attachment to what's supposed to happen.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Stacy, for being on our show. If you have enjoyed this interview, please tag Stacy Gissal on IG and share some of your takeaways that you learned. And don't forget to keep playing bigger. And I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you too.